Alright guys, we're back with some more Monster Energy Supercross 3. Today I thought it would be kind of fun to take the #1 most downloaded track on Xbox and compare it to the #1 most downloaded track on PlayStation. Now, interestingly enough, the Xbox track had about 48,000 downloads and the PlayStation had around 30,000 downloads, so it was a surprise to me, I guess. I thought most of you guys were playing on PlayStation, but it looks like more of you guys are playing on Xbox. Well, at least more of you guys tried out the #1 most downloaded track on Xbox. So interesting, but that's what we're doing today. We're going to start off with the Xbox version. Both the tracks had positives and negatives to it. And it was kind of weird because at the beginning I felt more towards one track, and then at the end I felt the opposite. But let's start it off with the Xbox track. Alright, so here we go. This is the #1 most downloaded track on Xbox. I will have the creator and the name of the track on screen, but this is it. This is the top dog. And the track, I mean, you have to assume that both the tracks on PlayStation and Xbox were probably made at the beginning of the game, when the game first came out. So, you know, somebody made a pretty good track, and then a bunch of people tried it out. So I'm not saying that this is the best track on Xbox, but it is the #1 most downloaded. So the track itself is pretty good. I feel like this track probably had the most interesting layout. They used the entire stadium, and at the beginning, this was kind of by far my favorite track. I felt like this was the best track. It had the best rhythm sections. It had the most unique layout. They utilized all the, or not, maybe not everything, but they used a bunch of the stuff in the track editor. They had the sand sections. They had the raised corner. They had the over-under. They had the tables, different jumps, different variety. Like, the track had variety to it, so it was fun. And I didn't feel like there was any part of the track that wasn't good. You know, I felt like if we were doing a Does Your Track Suck, I feel like this track would be pretty good. Pretty good, not great, but pretty good, not awful. It didn't have, I mean, in the beginning of the game, I feel like this track would have been kind of unique. At this stage of the game, you know, it's been out for quite a while. It doesn't have anything that I haven't seen or tried myself. But, again, at the beginning of the game, a lot of this stuff would have been kind of new, and I feel like it had good variety. So, overall, I did probably about 10 laps on both tracks, PlayStation and Xbox. So, I tried to keep it about average. And the first 5 laps, I felt like this track was for sure better. I felt like it was for sure better, more fun, and just my preferred track out of the both of them. You know, it was just right away. But the second half, laps 5 through 10, I felt different. I felt like I was leaning more towards the PlayStation. And the one thing that I guess I didn't like on this track is that I didn't feel like it had a really great rhythm section. It didn't feel like it had jumps and it had triples and it had tables, but it didn't feel like it had a great rhythm section. And when it comes to replayability, it just didn't feel like this track had a ton of it. Now, that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about it, which track you prefer after you see both of them, and we'll see if we match up. But in my opinion, the worst thing about this track is that it didn't have a great rhythm section, and that is one of the biggest things that I think a Supercross track especially, needs to have, is a great rhythm section. Okay, so we're hopping on over into PlayStation. The creator and the track name will be on screen, similar to Xbox. But this track, I already said it, the first 5 laps, I did about 10. I felt like Xbox was better. I just did. But the second half, the 5 through 10 laps, I felt like PlayStation was a bit better. This section in particular is interesting. It does have a few different rhythms you can take. This section too, because this section, you can hit it like whoops, but it really isn't whoops. And if you hit it bad, it kind of ruins that entire section. So it's kind of tricky. And it does have a pretty good rhythm section with a few different ways around it, both of which feel pretty competitive. I don't feel like if you take the small line, I don't feel like it'll be a lot slower. And it does have the sand, it does have some variety, maybe not quite as much variety as the Xbox track, but at this stage in the game, the way I look at tracks and the replayability and the creativity is different than I did at the beginning of the game. At the beginning of the game, I wanted to see the new stuff used and see how it fit into the track editor. But since the game has been out for a while, I really enjoy seeing good rhythm sections. So this track had a better rhythm section. It had 2 better rhythm sections actually than the Xbox version. Xbox had a better layout, more unique pieces used, but PlayStation had better rhythm lanes and I feel like a bit more replayability. But that rhythm section we just went through has 2, maybe 3 different ways you can hit it. This section, again, it's so tough to get through those big... I don't really know if he was going for big whoops there, but he kind of accomplished that, which makes that section really, really tricky. So even now, after the game has been out for a while, I enjoy this track. And again, it took me 5 laps to realize how good the track actually was. So I feel like when I do a Does Your Track Suck, I need to do at least 10 laps on the track to get a feel for how good it really is and try to find every line that the creator put on the track. That would give the track, or I guess give me, a better idea of how good the track was. Sometimes I feel like I know the track after a few laps, but, you know, to be fair, even if I feel like that, probably should run a few more laps on it, and I'll probably do that in the future. So overall, I'm gonna tell you which one I feel like was better, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. I'm not a fanboy of either console, so I don't really care. I have it on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. I play it mostly on PC, so if I had to say I was a fanboy, it probably would be PC, but when it comes to the console, it doesn't really matter to me. But I will tell you which one's my favorite. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite, which one you vote for. You have to say either Xbox or PlayStation. And I'd just be real curious to see how my opinion matches up against what you guys enjoy to play. Some of you might prefer easier tracks. Some of you might prefer tougher tracks. Me, I prefer tougher tracks just because it gives it more replayability. Alright guys, so you saw multiple laps on both tracks. In my opinion, and it's tough because both tracks were really, really, really close. It was tough. But in the end, my favorite track was the PlayStation track. I feel like the 2 rhythm lanes that track had made it more fun and made me want to play it longer. I did about 10 laps on both tracks, but, you know, after I was done, I found myself having more fun on the PlayStation track and wanting to play that track more. But the Xbox track was very, very close. It just needed a good, solid rhythm section. And I feel like Xbox would have been better than PlayStation. So just thought it'd be a fun video. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it and which track was your favorite. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.